Welcome to Reef Diary Day 12. So today I decided to work on the top of the tank to clean the glass that makes the perimeter of the aquarium. This is a double thick Euro brace, 1-inch tall, and the top gets some salt spatter on it, and sometimes I drip food on there, or there's little bits of coral from working in the tank when I'm cleaning things out. Also, the underside gets some algae growth under the glass that I need to clean off, and so I'll scrape that with a credit card to maintain the clarity through the glass so that light goes down and isn't blocked by a layer of algae. Now, this part here might seem rather mundane and boring to you, and I actually filmed 15 minutes of me working on this perimeter, which is actually a really long time, but it's a lot cleaner than it was. In the background there, you'll notice a vast marine feeder that they gave me as a gift that I still haven't used. Because of my nitrate and phosphate situation, I didn't want to add any kind of dry foods intentionally to the tank in addition to the nightly feedings. So it's just sitting there waiting until the day when I decide to turn it on. Perhaps you noticed, perhaps you didn't, I pushed the light rack out of my way slightly to work on the tank from the front, and I'm standing on the walkboard. When I go around to the back side of the tank, I worked off the step ladder because I didn't feel like taking the walkboard out and carrying it to the back and inserting it into the back of the aquarium, even though I really should have done that. I feel that this kind of cleaning is actually very, very important because it gives you a good chance to inspect the top of the tank and look at the seams and look at the joints and make sure that there's no surprises in the works. And if you never do this type of cleaning, I highly recommend that you start considering it, because when you first got your tank, every nook and cranny was pristine, perfect, and gorgeous. Why should you let it become dirty over time, and why should you neglect it? And if you go to this kind of trouble and really do the deep cleaning that I tend to do on a regular basis, the tank always seems nice and new rather than, hey, this is an 8-year-old system. And that's why my stuff tends to look good on the YouTube channel. Working off the stepladder is not nearly as easy. I don't have anywhere to put my bucket of water, so I'm holding it in one hand. I'm working with the other hand to, move things out of the way and get the sponge going and wipe things down and throw my crumbs in the bucket and keep rinsing and rinsing and wiping and rinsing. But I did the same thing with a credit card cleaning underneath that section of glass, which actually had more algae than the front part did. While I'm doing this, I might as well give you a quick update on the fact that the AC unit is finally working. On Sunday, I had to have the guy come out again, so that was the third visit since last week, with the third guy to work on it, and he checked everything, and he ended up adding more Freon or whatever it is they put in it these days. And finally, the house is a nice, cool 69 degrees. Which I liked, and then of course when the heat of the day happened, it rose a little bit, but that is normal for this household. And when it was 75, 78 degrees in here, I was actually pretty uncomfortable and didn't really want to do anything. And so that's why I'm more productive today, because I feel comfortable. So as I wrap up this part of the cleaning, I should mention that I did check the alkalinity of the tank today, which measured 10 DKH. So I'm kind of floating between 9.5 and 11. It's been a slight roller coaster over the last couple of days. And that's actually to be expected with a calcium reactor when you refill it like I did. Because normally I have a huge growing reef and everything is just absorbing it constantly, and I just refill the reactor and keep going on with my life. But now that we've taken out so much coral and I'm kind of starting over, so to speak, there's not as much demand. And so when I filled that reactor up to the top, I actually had to make some changes to add less alkalinity to the water on a constant basis. So I actually changed the melting point a little bit higher so it won't melt as quickly, and that's all I did. So it's been working just fine, and I'm looking forward to the next part of this video, which is something that I've been needing to do for some time, and you're about to see it here in a moment if you haven't already abandoned today's Reef Diary. Not long ago, I boxed up my Trident and shipped it back to Neptune Systems for them to do their maintenance program, and I got it back, and I needed to get that hooked up and back on my tank. So I decided to do that tonight while I was in the fish room. So the Trident itself measures alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium several times a day, every single day, and this will actually help me keep track of what's going on with the alkalinity on the tank without having to pull out my ELOS test kits. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually following the procedures using the task in Apex Fusion to install a brand new Trident. The Trident initialization task is simply how to install it brand new out of the box, and that's what I did. I just went completely fresh. I didn't save any old data, and I'm following the videos on the screen that tell me step by step what to do to avoid making any mistakes. And I actually like that they created this nice template to follow and mimic and copy, and rather than trying to read instructions on a manual. Now the waistline tubing is in that 1 gallon bottle. I have to do the sample line, which is black tubing, and I feed it through some very specific spots in my sump that are designed to hold that tubing exactly where I want it to be. I installed their little pre-filter on the end of the tubing, and I'm ready to go ahead and follow the final steps, which is to update Fusion and get it to find the Trident and set my waste volume, and that's it. I can basically let it do its thing, and in about 45 minutes it'll start doing its tests. I actually feel kind of accomplished this evening. I cleaned the top of my tank and I installed the Trident. What else can I accomplish? Let's see. Happened to update on the cyanobacteria. When you dose your system with Red Cyano RX, the protein skimmer section of your sump will very likely fill up with foam like this. As you can tell, the protein skimmer is off. I haven't even cleaned it yet. But this is completely normal and to be expected as the cyano in the system starts to die off. This is also a result of the medication in the water. The cyano in the refugium is already looking a little bit weaker today after 24 hours. It's not gone yet, but it is definitely less red, less bold. The tank itself doesn't really have much of a change. I still see the stuff on the sand that looks like a brown dusting. And this area at the end of the tank still has that red to it, and it may not even completely go away in this situation, but I haven't even scraped that clean yet. So that might just be a part of my own work to do. So normally I dose my tank with Prodibio on the 5th, which is in a few days, and that'll be on the tail end of this treatment that I'm doing here to get rid of cyanobacteria. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe.